All right, everyone. So we're going to get started. There's some intro stuff in the beginning for those coming on. So I'm Shane, the voice you're hearing, and we'll do introductions for the rest of the crew in a little bit. But thank you for joining us for our webinar about utilizing emerging platforms, specifically TikTok and Twitch. And so before we really get started, I wanted to just start with a poll. For all of you. So I'm going to launch this. So if you could just take a second and answer this, you can select more than one, just to kind of gauge who's on what. And Instagram may seem like an outlier here, but there'll be an explanation for that in a little bit. All right, most folks have voted. I'll give you all a few more seconds. All right, I'm going to shut this down. Let's see what we got. All right, so the majority of folks are on Instagram, which is not super surprising, and a handful of folks on TikTok and Twitch. Okay, well that's all right. That's what many of you are here for today. So let's get into it. Before we talk about TikTok and Twitch and a little bit about Instagram, for those of you who aren't aware of who we are, we're the Sharing Science Program, the American Geophysical Union. We're a big Earth and Space Science society with a bunch of journals, a handful of small conferences, and usually one giant conference every year, usually in person, not this year. But within that, the Sharing Science Program, our whole role, our mission is really to help scientists communicate their science with for the majority non-scientists, but really anyone. So we provide skills and tools and resources and all sorts of different things. And we do this through workshops, in person or virtual, through webinars, which is what we're doing right now. And we have a whole slew of online resources. So we'll follow up after this webinar, probably next week, with a big long email with all sorts of resources so you can find out more about us then. If you are interested in science communication more broadly, we've been doing this webinar series. I know some of you are repeats, but we have a handful coming up as well. So things on policy and advocacy and op-eds and virtual presentations. And so if you're interested in that, I suggest that you go to webinars.agu.org and check it out. And if you missed one, you can go back into our archive. So the voice you're hearing now, my name is Shane Hanlon. I'm one of the core employees in the Sharing Science program. I'm a researcher by training, but now I do a lot of the science communication and science communication training. And I do a lot of the social media in Sharing Science. And I personally am on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram Reels, which we'll talk about, but that's kind of my role. And my colleague Olivia is on the line as well. I'll let her introduce herself.
Thanks, Shane. Hi, everyone. I'm Olivia Ambrogio, also a core employee doing Sharing Science, also a biologist by training, although we didn't plan that. And yeah, have been at AGU for a number of years now, helping develop and then expand the Sharing Science program. I also do some stealth educating, like on beaches with these horseshoe crabs, as you see here, and some science drawing, which you can find on my Instagram.
Thanks, Olivia. We have some special guests who are going to be talking about Twitch today, but we'll let them introduce themselves later when we get to that section. So first off, this is the third in a whole webinar series, well, a mini part of the webinar series, part of this larger one, about sharing science online. And so we're just kind of going to dive right into it. But if you missed or didn't know about our previous webinars, we have an archived webinar. We have these animations that Olivia has done and I voiced over. We have a whole thing we're calling the Virtual Learning Hub, where you can learn about how to expand your online presence and specifically how to use more kind of mainstream, or that's not fair, more common types of social media to share your science. So if you're interested in that, you can go and check that out. But today we're talking about two specific types of social media that are getting more and more attention, not only in the science world, but kind of more broadly. The first is TikTok. So if you're unfamiliar with TikTok, what is TikTok? Well, TikTok is this streaming platform or this video platform where it's people doing videos. And so what you're seeing scrolling through right now is me flicking my finger because it doesn't happen quite this fast, but people will upload anywhere from 15 to 60-second videos about everything. When you sign on, you have this little home page. The algorithm as to what's shown to you is a black box. So this is my home page, and I'm only on TikTok to do science, but I get all of this stuff. And so it's kind of, there's a lot of things out there we don't know about TikTok, specifically how they choose these things, but this is the front page. TikTok also does have kind of a followers page. So that's the one here on the right. Pause this other one, but you can actually follow folks. So I'm relatively new to TikTok. I've been on it for a couple months now, and I mainly follow scientists or people doing different type of science things. And again, there's a lot of things we don't necessarily know about, but that's the great thing about TikTok is it's kind of this like open world at this point. So this is what it looks like, and these are the types of videos on it. But so it might be this black box, we don't know a lot about it, so why use it? Well, it's popular. It's really popular, it's getting more popular. So it's one of the most overall downloaded apps worldwide. It has a really like a much younger age demographic than a lot of the other kind of more popular or at least more traditional social media. And people are on it for a decent amount of time a day. So its popularity is just rising. And so being on it for the sciences is really important and a really good avenue to share science. How it kind of actually works. So to the left here is what TikTok looks like. This is a video I just took of myself, but you can go into the app, you record something with your camera, and then you can go in and edit it. You can add different effects. One thing TikTok does have is this online music library that has probably thousands of songs to it. So you can go in and find all sorts of different music to accompany your video. I think, I know you can't hear this, the platform doesn't allow it, but I just picked this Foster the People song. And so you can create sound, you can type over things, you can create all sorts of different like stickers or add emojis or all sorts of different things. As you can see, I wasn't really serious about posting this, but once you get your video down and you add all of your effects to it, then it goes to this final place where you describe your video. The descriptions for TikTok aren't really that important, frankly, or maybe they are. That's the thing. We don't really know. There isn't a lot of good information out there about what is picked up and what is really important to create buzz around TikTok. But regardless, you can add hashtags. It's kind of like Twitter in that way. But these are kind of the basics to TikTok. You go, you record, you post. You can also upload videos as well. And so that's actually what I've been doing. I create these videos, these science communication videos, that's me and my dog essentially, and I'll record them on my phone. I'll record video and then audio and then use an external program. I have Adobe Rush, which I'm very privileged to have through HEU, but you could use free programs. Microsoft Photos allows you to edit videos. iMovie does. There's free ones out there you can download as well. So there's two types of ways to do this. As for the guidelines, like what you should actually be doing, so TikTok in the app, you can either do 15 or 60-second videos. If you upload your own, they're a little less stringent on the guidelines for timing. Content, I put an oof as a placeholder, but I just left it there. There's a lot of different content on there, lots of dancing, lots of memes, and lots of different trends. There's all sorts of different TikTok dances or songs or acts or whatever you want to call it. How to get featured on that front page, again, I said this before and I'm going to reiterate it, it's a black box. All posts get featured at some point, but how often they get featured, no one really knows about. The best educated guesses are that videos that people watch the whole way through, completion rate is a good indicator, and percentage of folks that rewatch. So if you're getting your videos watched the whole way through and people are watching them over and over again, that is thought to be a really good indicator of whether or not you'll be featured on more and more front pages. There's also some evidence that maybe the sweet spot might be between 8 or 9 seconds. Likes, comments, and shares, these are in other social media platforms as well, but these can matter. And even if you, or maybe it helps if you comment on others. But again, one, we don't know for sure, and two, the best guesses are that these first two matter the most. There are hashtags, but they don't trend like on something like Twitter. So you can use them to find types of content, but they won't go trending like many different hashtags on Twitter. And a really popular hashtag is for your page, and that's this front page. But again, we don't quite know how much that matters. I mentioned trends in different types of dances. So these are just a handful of the science-related folks that I follow. But there's ones about people changing their outfits. There's this thing called green screen, this one you see with the paper accepted no revisions, where you can freeze something and do something over it. A bunch of different dances, different trends on this like glass swiping one, you were changing your outfit. And then there's one at the bottom here called Duet, where you can basically respond to videos. This is just a small sampling, but this is kind of what TikTok looks like. And so the last thing I want to talk about, and I know this is quick, but this is just kind of give a primer on it. Instagram has created something called Reels. It is literally TikTok, but it's on Instagram. It's a clone. It looks very, very similar, and it operates in the same way. The nice thing about Reels is that if you already have Instagram, you have Reels. Actually, if you're on Instagram and you've clicked the like the Explore button, you've probably seen different people's Reels. One of the drawbacks to Reels is that it only allows you to do video for 15 seconds. That's it. Even if you upload your own video, it will still cut it to 15 seconds. So we'll see how popular Reels gets. It will probably depend on, I don't know, some of you might be aware that there's an executive order out there to actually ban TikTok if it continues under its current ownership. That might happen in like 35 days. We'll see, but just something to be aware of, that Reels might be the gateway to TikTok, especially since 80% of you said that you're on Instagram already. So just to kind of recap, what is TikTok? So like I said, it's this social media, it's this site for mostly short videos. Again, you can kind of play with that a little bit. It's focused on trends, not necessarily hashtags, but things like dancing and memes and all sorts of different stuff. It's really great to help expand an audience. It has younger demographics, different folks, not necessarily the same science audiences that are on other platforms. It has really great visuals and video medium. It's great for showing people and humanizing science and the scientists behind them. And so just kind of keep that in mind when thinking about TikTok. So other things to keep in mind, oh, excuse me, my bad. So that's TikTok in a very quick nutshell. We're gonna switch to Twitch, but before we do that, I want to do another poll that I actually missed about seeing how many of you, I saw how many are on TikTok or Twitch, but even after this little bit, how prepared are you to engage with audiences on TikTok or Twitch? So this is kind of either going and producing your own content or just even going on the platforms and looking for content. So just kind of curious. So I'll leave this up here for a few seconds. All right, got most everyone. I'm gonna leave it up for a few more. All right, so let's see. Okay, so that's not super surprising considering how many of you are on these different platforms, and that's fine. So hopefully after today, folks might feel either TikTok or Switch might feel a little bit more, or a little bit, yeah, a little bit more ready to engage on maybe one of these platforms or even Reels, which I get that I didn't put up there, but we don't quite know what's happening with Reels. Okay, so that is enough of me. At this point in time, I'm going to hand the reins over to our two special guests to introduce themselves and talk all about Twitch.
Hi guys, thank you, Shane. My name is Alyssa, and I go by Rocket Sage on all my social medias. Currently, however, I work at CSUB as a geology instructor. I'm one of 3 co-founders of an educational community on Twitch called the Knowledge Fellowship. I'm a sedimentologist by training with an emphasis in diagenesis, petrography, and field mapping, but I've gotten quite a bit into volcanology, mineralogy, and hydro for Twitch as well as my own interests. And on twitch.tv, I actually share geology news, I discuss misinformation, I show a variety of minerals that I've collected and rocks over the years, and I field stream, which is probably my newest and favorite thing, and I give university style lectures.
Hi, I'm Melissa. On Twitch and Twitter, I'm Volcano Doc, although I'm not quite there yet. I'm a PhD candidate at UC Santa Barbara, defending this fall. I use thermodynamics-based computer models to study the magma plumbing systems of active volcanoes. I'm a participant this year in AGU's Voices for Science program on the Science Communications track. I've been on Science Twitter for a few years now, and I recently added Twitch to my Scicomm repertoire.
So what is Twitch? I know many of you probably haven't heard of this. It's predominantly for esports and music. You'll see that it says esports on the top left. That just means gaming for the most part. There is competitive gaming, that's what esports is, but gaming and music are the 2 biggest groups. However, there are large groups of artists, software developers, educators, science communicators, and a plethora of other media. I mean, the world is your oyster on these platforms. You can essentially do whatever you want within the realm of their terms of service, which is easy to find. Initially, it was established in 2007 as Justin.tv. They are actually the pioneers of live streaming on the internet, but it again was initially for gamers, and it's still the leading platform in live streaming content. And in 2014, it was rebranded to Twitch Interactive and is now owned by Amazon. It's very similar today to YouTube and Facebook Live. However, Facebook and YouTube Live were established later on. This is one of my favorite stats. The average monthly broadcasters has increased from 300,000 in 2012 to 3.84 million in 2020. So it's gone up quite a bit. And it's not just the pandemic that's caused that. I know it might seem that way, but it has grown steadily over those years. And although the platform was initially established for gamers and musics, again, there's even political communicators and again, science communicators outside of the geosciences that use this platform as well. Live streams can vary wildly in the length of time, the content, the quality, and the number of viewers you might have. And again, this is a live streaming interactive platform where you'll have a chat next to you answering or asking questions, communicating with you while they see you or hear you talking about some content. And you can become an affiliate or a partner. Partner is kind of comparable to the check mark on Twitter you might see. And of course, you get more perks with Twitch staff. And it's extremely, extremely community oriented.
Just to use Twitch, you don't even need a computer. It's as easy as downloading the app to your phone. A Twitch account is free, and although it's not required to watch, you really do want to get one to chat and get the full Twitch experience. If you're wanting to stream, the most important thing is that you have good, reliable internet. At the absolute bare minimum, you're going to need minimum 7 megabytes per second upload speed, but the faster you can get, the better. The second most important thing is to have an external microphone. You do not want to use the mic inside of your laptop. It ends up sounding like a muffled robot. Nobody wants to hear that. And you don't need to use your computer to stream either. You can stream directly from your phone or even a gaming console. And you're not tied to one piece of software. There are numerous programs like OBS or Stream Elements that can stream to other platforms. So you can use this and stream to, say, Twitch or YouTube Live at the same time. It's best to kind of dip your toes in the water though and get a feel for the platform at first. So I would highly suggest, get an account, spend some time on there, get a feel for it, see if it's the place you want to be. And I've included a link with a detailed how to Twitch guide in the follow-up email after the webinar. It can be really intimidating at first to just fall into this place where everybody is there and there's all this stuff going on, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. So that's why I suggest easing your way into it. You don't need to drop a lot of money on gear all at once either. I've got my setup here on the left. It's basically just 2 monitors hooked into my laptop. Alyssa, on the other hand, has been accumulating her rig over a 5-year period, so it looks pretty professional, especially for low budget, which is over the long term. If you have the gear to teach online, you have the gear to stream. This is all you need. So again, unfortunately, this platform doesn't allow for sound and videos, but links to the full videos will be in the email to follow the webinar. But we have examples here of what you might expect to see in somebody's stream. Twitch is kind of like the opposite of TikTok. You're looking at long videos on a few topics. So it's like a YouTube video, but interactive. And each streamer has their own unique setup and way of doing things, which is good. Variety is a good thing. So like in this clip, this is a fresh rockfall near campus. And it's really common for students at my university to sunbathe under these bluffs. But one look is all you or I need to know that that's not a good idea. But say there's somebody who lives on the California coast. They might have just stumbled into some really important information on their way to play Fortnite.
There's a variety of ways in which we can share information via pictures, via university style lectures. This is one of my favorite things, is talking about hazards and long-term predictions versus forecasting, et cetera, because you and I all know we can't predict earthquakes, but there are actually people out there that believe this. And I've had a lot of people come in asking about, well, what about my animals? They can predict and feel certain things before the things happen. I'm like, okay, well, this is actually what's happening. This is the real science involved. And I always end with, let's Google, can you predict an earthquake? The first link that always comes up is the USGS website, and the first thing it says is no. So I often use that as the end all, but it's a good way to try to inform misinformation, because that can absolutely be rife. And I love this mineral rock segment as well. You can do a ton of different things with lighting, with various cameras. Again, this one is actually an IRL field stream where I've slowly, only recently, started building up some gear. This is Fossil Falls. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the area. And there again is audio to these clips, but this one is just an example of what you can do based on signal. If you have it, signal on the outdoor field stuff is a problem. Navigating Twitch additionally can be somewhat difficult, but they've tweaked this such that it's getting somewhat better. But back in, I'd say, I think 2018, there's a group of us, a very small group of educational content creators. We all kind of found one another and said, hey, we didn't know each other existed. Dr. WD-40, a biologist, Dr. Wade Doberman at Eastern Florida State College, myself and Bill Druin founded a community called the Knowledge Fellowship, and we've since remained active founders. But honestly, the other members who've helped us build this have been immensely helpful. And of course, the educational content creators, of which we now support 70 plus from a variety of different fields, such that if you look at the website or join the Discord, you don't even have to join the Discord. You can just look at the website and see a variety of EDU content creators from a variety of fields, including STEM, social sciences, arts and humanities, and more. And we've only recently begun these roundtables that you can see here. This roundtable is actually on outdoor educational streaming, which I felt would be pretty beneficial for geoscientists, as half of our science is basically outdoors. We also got a panel at 2019, the TwitchCon, and that is going to be linked at the end of the panel as well today, which you can watch, and we just talk about streaming educational content on Twitch. And I felt very lucky that we were able to discuss all that. Again, there are ways to navigate to find streamers now, but in 2018, it was a lot harder. If you'd like to check out more on the Knowledge Fellowship, you feel free to check out theknowledgefellowship.org. You can jump straight to Twitch from there, find some EDU streamers you might like to check out. You can join our Discord and involve yourself with the community if you so wish. And all that can be found here. Again, this will be shared at the end as well. This app Discord is actually being added to phones regularly now, which is it's kind of like Zoom, but I think a bit more organized in a variety of ways. And I really highly encourage people to check it out just for themselves. It's quite useful. And as for browsing Twitch, aside from that, you can browse things for charity streams, for educational gaming. There's a variety of ways you can. And that's one of the pros that they've recently added. It's still a bit difficult. Anybody can use these tags. Again, these content creators, it's you could stream anything almost, again, within terms of service. So you ideally want to put tags on your content in addition to the category you're streaming within to try to narrow down what you're doing so people can get an idea before they may or may not click your thumbnail on Twitch. But it's an excellent site, and some of the pros include live streaming on Twitch because it reaches a broader audience, potentially with physical, financial, or other barriers. People may not even be exposed to K through 12 geology. I've found that is fairly common. It allows for the development of better critical thinking skills, navigating media, understanding more about the geosciences when most have no prior opportunity to learn about them. Major organizations like NASA, CosmoQuest X, who's associated with the Planetary Science Institute, American Eagle Foundation, they're all using the platform regularly. Das Valdez is another streamer who has regular access to NASA rocket launches. He often gets featured on the front page of Twitch. And then the charity streams are one of my personal favorites, where you can, any monetary gain that you maybe get during a stream, you could send all of that towards a charity of your choice, like St. Jude's, Direct Relief, WWF Australia, and a laundry list of others. There are quite a few, and you can see more about the charity via that link there. Now, there of course are cons, and it's important to go over these so you know how to best navigate. It's not a very diverse platform. You can see more with that link there after the webinar. Anonymity does allow for excess trolling and potentially doxing. Doxing just means people can search and publish your private information online without your permission. You may or may not know who they are. So just be careful, protect yourself. It can take a lot of time and resources. I think Melissa already touched on the resources fairly well, but make sure you don't overwhelm yourself and the life balance is there. Because anybody can provide content, again, including misinformation, and it can become somewhat time consuming to sift through. And the science and tech category isn't always science. Some pseudoscience can be found in there. Some 24-hour animal streams can be found in there. And I actually do like the animal streams, but there's a little bit of disorganization with the categories. And the educational content can be hard to find if you don't know where to go, which is where some things like TKF do help, but they are not the only solutions. Again, Twitch is becoming much better with this. And then navigating Twitch, you'll notice all these little emotes or emoticons all over the screen, and they might look silly and chaotic, but they're actually really useful because you'll notice that you've got a chat that's anonymous where they can see you and your interactions. They can see your body language. They can hear your voice and your inflections. You can't do that with them. This allows them to supplement that body language, that missing emotion that they may not have in text, so they can show sarcasm or excitement. And it's also good to remind people that nobody knows everything. Scientists strive to know everything, but we don't know everything. And it's okay to remind your viewer base that we don't. Staying humble and realistic really connects you as a person to your community. Again, community is huge and important on Twitch. Finally, this is going to be the big one. Females are oftentimes more tested, sometimes harassed, almost about anything you might live stream. So be prepared to have a good moderator team. These are individuals that you're ideally close to, that you work well with, have similar moral compasses potentially, and you guys decide how you want to run your chat to mitigate it for you, for the streamer, so you can produce the best content that you can. Find the balance and moderation you prefer for your stream, chat, and community, because no one stream is the same.
The biggest pro, in my opinion, is the accessibility of Twitch. There are people watching from all different countries that can interact all the time, just because an account is so free and easy to obtain. You only need a device and an internet connection. Although this can cause these major cons because of the ease of accessibility, it really does allow for science to ultimately have a greater reach. And this is a chance for the public to get excited about science again. People are interested in the earth sciences. They just don't have it made widely available to them in places they're already familiar with. And sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit to go where the people are. By talking to the public about scientific research, how data sets work, the research process, and answering questions about topics like these, I'm hoping to build trust between scientists and non-scientists. In the current times, science is just as underappreciated as rush, and that needs to change. People should be just as energized about climate change as they are about a rocket launch, and trusting relationships are key in making these changes. So I've been active on Twitter for a few years now, but I just discovered Twitch at the beginning of the pandemic when I realized everything was going to go online only for a while. And luckily I have a teenager who knows what's cool and hip. Otherwise, I never would have been able to find Twitch. Although both are useful Scicomm tools that overlap a bit, there are some significant differences between the two platforms. The biggest difference is time. Twitter takes anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes to tweet or retweet, and you can schedule things to go out. But the sweet spot for views on a Twitch stream isn't usually until you're like well into a stream, which can make it pretty awkward at first. You should expect to spend a minimum of 2 to 4 hours for one stream. And so Alyssa mentioned that good work-life balance, which is really hard to maintain. And that's why I do once a week. If once a week, maybe more if I can. And sometimes you have to take some weeks off because there's a lot of time that goes into streaming your Scicomm. There are informal communities on Twitter like geology Twitter or birdwatching Twitter, and Twitch is kind of the same. There are these different communities. It's very community oriented, and the communities can overlap a bit, which is nice. Interaction with viewers on Twitch is more real time than Twitter, which Twitter is more texting to the masses. Twitch is more similar to online teaching in that you're present, but others are behind a keyboard. And that means that the tone of communication will be much more informal on Twitch, simply as a function of the real-time anonymous chat. But I think that this lack of formality is part of the appeal for non-scientists and what makes them more comfortable interacting with you as a scientist. The platform audiences differ greatly. Everybody is on Twitter, whereas Twitch is more niche, since it was originally for gaming and music. But now there's everybody from glass blowing to DJs to programming to lectures on firework chemistry. And as far as content goes, Twitter is the place where news and info breaks. You will find live on the boots ground vlogging. Say there's a guy who might live stream one of the protests or go to outside of where something might be happening and live stream that. But for the most part, Twitter is where you'll find breaking news. Things can change fast. Hashtags and trends will change hourly and by location. But on Twitch, the content really varies by the streamer. You can get content changes within the stream, but ultimately, you as the streamer have control. Twitter's like where you find stuff, and Twitch is where you would take it to find an in-depth explanation of it. So what you might see in a thread on Twitter would be done in a stream interactively on Twitch. Another nice thing about Twitch is that there are these VODs, videos on demand. So let's say that you have to make lecture videos for your online classes, or maybe you want to make clips like this for other social media accounts. Twitch keeps the VODs, and you can edit them later to use this content for other Scicomm uses. But be very, very careful of copyrighted images. Twitch can also be useful to help people to better understand how science works. A lot of people just see the fun and exciting side of science. They don't see the analyzing, the double checking of data sets, or the behind the scenes work that we do. So sometimes, I'm gonna skip ahead here for a second, if I don't mind sharing, I might do some work on stream. And that way somebody can watch me work and they'll actually ask questions about the scientific method, research, maybe questions about grad school becoming a scientist or just how science works in general during chat breaks. I really think that this is good for helping the public to understand the scientific method because it helps to bring them along for the ride, to take them through the journey of critically evaluating something. And that can really help to foster a public trust in science once again.
This is an excellent clip. I really like it. There's another example of how you can actually share other tweets. There was a recent publication, I'm sure many of you heard of there's always publications in LA Times and varieties of media that don't exactly represent science well. And I try to take it back to the actual peer-reviewed articles, and I'll go through and I'll explain what they mean. Or I'll take it to, for example, Dr. Lucy Jones here, who very, very eloquently described exactly what those papers were saying. And I shared her science as well as a paper here from the Bulletin of Seismological Society of America. And there's a variety of ways you can help navigate and show individuals how to navigate science and articles versus clickbait news, because it is a huge problem. Most people get their news and it's actually just exaggerated reporting. It's not oftentimes accurate. So what does the scientist get out of Twitch? Actually, quite a bit. For one, it's made me a better teacher overall. That is probably one of the biggest things. It's helped me network with a variety of other people like CosmoQuest here. They did an AGU presentation, getting twitchy for science, and they are associated with a Planetary Science Institute. They have been doing science streams on Twitch since about, I think 2015 or 16. You might have to ask Dr. Pamela Gay on that one. She's also found on Twitter as Starstrider, really excellent scientist who runs this community. And a lot of really good science here as well. They do citizen science. They even mapped Bennu, the asteroid, on stream and had other individuals mapping it with them. It was one of the most inspiring things I think I've seen. It's very interactive. Twitch in and of itself is just so interactive. It's very similar to online teaching, but a little more unpredictable at times with, anonymous chat. But one of the best parts, I think, is the interdisciplinary collaboration with the other scientists like this. It inspires so many different communities and, again, makes you a better teacher. And the number of different chemists and physicists and astronomers and mathematicians I've met along the road who've just allowed me to nerd out with them, for the lack of a better term, has just been so beneficial.
And using Twitch has really added so many skills to my soft skills toolbox. I have learned a lot about video production. I've got a picture here. This is Streamlabs OBS. This is one of the pieces of software I use. And I found out about it just trying to figure out how I was going to record my video lectures as the pandemic began. So since starting on Twitch and since learning all of this software, I've learned so much about video production, lighting, computer tech, audio, video editing, and even a little bit about copyright law. And ultimately, it does force you to become a better science communicator and teacher, because you never know who's going to show up, if they'll be interested in what you have to say, or what questions your viewers will have. Personally, I like this because I'm a big fan of what I like to call shower questions. Most viewers on Twitch just genuinely don't know anything about the earth sciences. And I've found that by creating a space where people can ask questions that they don't feel comfortable asking in other places, they can really enjoy it and then take what they learn with them. And being on the receiving end of those shower questions keeps me grounded, because when you're alone with your research, it's just too easy to forget where non-scientists are with information on different topics.
And finally, I think the big points I'd like to wrap up with are field accessibility can be a huge issue for so many reasons. And live streaming field geology, I believe, can help educate so many people on essential geologic topics. I mean, most people aren't even exposed to geology in K through 12. There are some outliers here and there, but this will, I think, help inform so many people and ideally eliminate more misinformation. It's a great opportunity to bring good science to many people who would otherwise not be exposed at all. And as the internet, of course, becomes one of our main modes of communication globally, so does the increase of online misinformation, which allows us to have an opportunity to inform, to ideally remove that misinformation. Critical thinking, of course, brings the ability to navigate media and pick through misinterpreted science articles versus peer-reviewed articles. And it would be beneficial just in general to share and understand various areas of the world. A lot of people don't even have the opportunity to leave their town or their state for most of their lives. So I think this overall has just created so many opportunities for the geosciences.
All right. Well, thank you both so much. We're so privileged to have your expertise here. So to summarize, hopefully effectively, what our guests were talking about, what exactly is Twitch? So Twitch, it's this live stream, live video streaming platform, and it's preferred by gamers, like you said, in esports as well. Well, why use Twitch for Scicomm? What's so unique about it, I personally think, is its real-time communication. It's different than Twitter and Facebook and TikTok and everything else. But I really love that. It's accessible to anyone with a computer or with an internet connection. So it really lowers those barriers to entry. And it's really great as a teaching tool. You can teach lots of different folks and demographics. You can provide critical thinking skills, how to identify and combat misinformation, and it can just be really, really great for science in general. So I'm very happy that we were able to get Alyssa and Melissa here to share their expertise with us. So with that, I'm going to actually put up one more poll. So we kind of try to do this before and after, but if you all would please take a minute, and it's the same as last time. I'm just trying to gauge kind of in this very short 42 minutes where folks are at. So take a minute and fill this out for us, please, and then we'll do some housekeeping things, and then we have lots of time for Q&A, which is great. All right, give it a few more seconds. Okay. Oh, look at that. All right. So this is good to see. Again, I know we've only been talking actual details for probably like 30, 35 minutes, but there is a little bit of a shift from these bottom two to kind of a nice bell curve, and that's great. And this is not the end by any means of the materials that we can provide and resources we can provide. So with that, I'll leave it to Olivia to kind of talk about next steps.
Thanks, Shane. So first, thank you all again for attending this. And as Shane mentioned, we will be sending an email to everyone who attended with some more links, some more resources, some follow-up on some of the links that were embedded in this PowerPoint, and of course, the link to where you can find this webinar archive if you want to come back to it at any time. But as Shane also mentioned earlier, we have this whole series that we're providing this year. So if you've been enjoying the webinars generally, if there are other aspects of science communication you're interested in, please check out the rest of the series this year on everything from doing some more sort of advocacy in science to preparing for online presentations to sort of developing better networking with a wider community. And you can check that out at webinars.agu.org. And please, follow us, be our friends. AGU is on pretty much all the social media, as are Shane and I, as are Melissa and Alyssa. So definitely check them out. And if you have not yet joined the Sharing Science community, please do. It's a very simple profile that you fill out. Then you'll have access to all of this great stuff that we have on AGU Connect, a platform through which you can talk with other people who care about science communication. There are tons of resources. We have a whole library of social science around science communication that's been collated for you, essentially, as well as announcements and information that we provide, and our virtual learning hub where we share all of these webinars and associated products. So with that, we'll, so again, please do consider joining the community. It really doesn't take long. It's really valuable for us, and we hope for you. And with that, we'll start taking some questions. If you haven't yet and you want to, there is a questions box on the right of your screen. So just type a question in there and we'll be able to put them to any of our speakers today.
And actually,
and one of the things.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, so first, this is what we look like. Hi. And something that Melissa and Alyssa actually remind me of that I didn't put in mine about TikTok, but it's just like the hardware you need. So at the very, very basic level, it's just a phone. It's like any sort of other social media, almost, I'm going to say all phones nowadays, especially smartphones, have cameras. And if you have the app, you have the capability to do it. Some people get fancier. I've upgraded a smidge on some of my technology. So now I have a microphone that plugs directly into my phone that pulls better audio quality or audio quality. And I also got a ring light to shine better. And actually, I don't think this is going to be too disruptive, but like, so that's, I'm like recording myself while
Ooh,
I
look
do this.
at
It's very
you.
meta. So the ring light was like 30 bucks. The mic was a little bit more expensive, not necessary. I'm also just an audiophile, but you could do it for just $0 with the phone that you have that you've already paid for, and you can get really fancy with it. So it's like Twitch in that way, and like any sort of other audio video thing, that it's kind of your own adventure.
Thanks, Shane. And also, we did have within the question someone who wrote, folks, during your Twitch presentation, this is so dang cool, man. Thank you. So just to pass that along.
That's awesome.
So
A couple of, go ahead, Shane.
yeah, so I'll start looking at questions. First one is about Twitch specifically. So to kick it to y'all, do viewers need Twitch accounts to view videos, or can they just go on like the website or something like that?
You can go on the website to view videos. You'll get ads. Well, either way, you'll get ads unless you're a subscriber to a channel. But no, you can view them without an account. You could just have way more options with an account. I don't think you can chat in chats without an account, actually. Yeah, no, you can't. So
No, that's why I would suggest, like, if you want to experience it fully, get an account. But if you just want to kind of pass through and see what it's like, you don't need to. You can just go to the website.
Yeah. And when you open it, it's going to be kind of a chaotic, you don't know what's going to be on the front page. Twitch is what it is.
Shane, you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
Oh my gosh, I should be better at this. All I said was that that's the same with TikTok.
Yeah.
You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Another question, we have a couple of questions about metrics. People are asking what kinds of metrics, viewing or otherwise, are useful for reporting engagement. And also, do you have the ability to see analytics on Twitch and TikTok like you can with Instagram?
Which, yes.
I guess, yeah, go ahead. I'll go after y'all.
There's a ton of tools to use to see and visualize your metrics. So you can use Sully Gnome, you can use Twitch, I think Tracker is another one. There's certain ones with different kinds of data. Twitch now offers its own metrics within its software. So there's that. No, except on the app on your phone, you can't really do a lot with the Twitch app on your phone for metrics, and other than just kind of live streaming and seeing other people.
Yeah, and I'll say for TikTok, I frankly don't know if there's something related like Twitter analytics, which gives you a lot to go on, but you can very easily see watches. Watches are frankly probably the biggest metric, just how many people are viewing your videos. And again, that makes sense if the algorithm is what we think it is, but there's likes and shares. And so in that way, it's similar to other platforms like Instagram and Twitter and whatever else. So Olivia, unfortunately, is frozen at this moment, so she might kick back on, but I'll take over the question asking. So I got a question about TikTok, about the legal situation with TikTok, which I did allude to, but yes, there is an executive order out there right now that in theory will ban TikTok and WeChat and other entities that are owned predominantly by predominantly China-owned organizations and platforms, and something, I think it's like 35, 36 days, something like that. So basically the why bother if it's going away? One, it might not go away. That might not actually happen, or an American company might buy it or something like that. But two, if it does in fact go away, I mentioned Instagram Reels, which is very, very similar to TikTok in many ways. So if you learn TikTok and TikTok goes away, Reels will be there. And then also something like this type of platform is not going away. It is so, so, so popular. So even if like TikTok goes away and Reels doesn't survive, something will replace it and the basic functionality will be the same and the audience will migrate there. So it'll always be around in some capacity. So I'd say that it's worth, if you're interested in it, it's worth learning and the payoff will occur somewhere. Olivia is back.
I am. Hello. Another good question that we have, which is one that's a challenge, I think, with all Scicomm, but is how do you measure the impact on science learning? And I'm wondering if those of you who use Twitch have either data or maybe some anecdotal evidence of, how you've seen people sort of learn new things or change their minds.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
For sure. I mean, I can definitely provide anecdotal evidence because one of the nice things about Twitch is that it allows you to express all parts of your personality. There are lots of different things that I'm interested in. And I really enjoy hanging out in this other gal's stream because she does really cool like LED hula hooping with music and it's super awesome. But she ended up visiting my Volcano Science Sunday stream, and I did a little segment for the 25th anniversary of the Soufriere Hills volcano waking up. And she came and hung out, and the next week I was visiting her stream just kind of at night. I'd do some work and might watch her, and she mentioned me and was like, yeah, I didn't know that volcanic ash was glass. I didn't know that. And so, she learned from me, and then she went and told everybody that she knew that volcanic ash is glass. It's not ash. So I think that, just that example right there, there's 50 more people that know that volcanic ash is glass, not ash, which I think even that's just something really tiny, but it shows how fast good information can travel when it's presented in an exciting and relatable manner.
Yeah, and I've had actually a few people in my chat say, "Hey, I switched majors to geology." I'm like, "Whoa, what?" And I'm like, "Heck yeah, can we do this more often?" But one of the things I'd like to incorporate are quizzes, and people have actually asked for them. They wouldn't be official, but they might be, I don't know, multiple choice questions in chat, like Dr. WD40 has implemented. There's a giant streamer, Kit Boga, who does visual, like a histogram that shows up on his screen, and people just type A, B, C, or D to vote, and they change, and they can only vote once. There's a lot of API that you need to get into for Twitch to make those happen, but they're possible. So those I've seen. As for collecting data analytically, I'm personally not there yet, but I've had a lot of anecdotal people coming in and just, I just took this class, or I'm in this class. Hey, do you know this thing about mineralogy? It's really fantastic. And over the years now, I've got how many geologists in the community? There's a good 30 maybe plus.
That's fantastic.
I love it.
Yeah. Also, Melissa, thank you for mentioning the thing about volcanic ash, because I will acknowledge I did not know that either. So thank you. Biologist,
like Olivia said, we're biologists by training.
You're very welcome. Now you know.
We're always learning. We're always learning.
So this was also an excellent learning opportunity. Another question we have is, are there any costs associated with TikTok or Twitch beyond the equipment needed, excuse me?
For TikTok, not that I'm aware. It's just I don't think that there is not kind of levels of accounts like there are, I believe, on Twitch. So I think on this end, the answer is no. I don't know about Twitch for sure, though, with y'all.
It just depends what you want to do on Twitch. I think really is what it comes down to, because it's big open box. You could just do so many things. So if you just wanted to stream video games, yeah, maybe the cost of video games, but
I mean, there's Twitch Prime, right, that you mentioned.
Yeah, Twitch Prime. So Twitch is owned by Amazon. And so if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can automatically link it to your Twitch account, and that gives you 1 free sub per month. that basically means that you can watch one person without having to watch their ads that Twitch puts on before. It makes it so like you don't have to watch the ads like you wouldn't on YouTube. That's
And you
all
also get to use their emotes.
you can. So that is a perk. But some people put a lot of emphasis on that. I personally think that you don't have to spend any money. You can just do it and be there and have almost the same experience. I mean, really, you can have the same experience, because if you're around long enough and become a regular, then a lot of streamers will give you many permissions that a sub might. So it's completely possible to do it and not spend any additional money, without a doubt.
And then
quickly.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I was just thinking about this, going back to a previous question about metrics. One thing that I wanted to mention that kind of fits in with that with TikTok is that you can so a nice thing with TikTok is when you create the video, you upload the video, or if you create it in the app, it's more fitting or more important if you create it in the app. You can actually download the video and have the file just to do whatever you want with. So actually, for me personally, the main way I use TikTok is I create these videos on TikTok, use it almost as a hosting platform, but then post a lot of things to my Twitter account and through AGU Twitter, because a lot of what I'm doing is for science communication. So what's nice is that I have this file I can put anywhere, but I'm actually measuring more about engagement through Twitter, weirdly enough. So I'll take this TikTok video, repost it on Twitter, and measure engagement that way. So it's nice that it's not unique to TikTok by any means, but it's nice that I have this video I can do with whatever I want, essentially. It has like the TikTok watermark and all of that, but there are more versatile ways to create or to measure engagement and measure analytics and things that way.
That's a really interesting way to do that. I hadn't thought of that at all.
Yeah, so if you are on Twitter and you see someone who has their video posted, that's what they did, because you can share the link, but the video doesn't show up if you just share the link. So they're actually uploading the video itself, which is nice. It's a pain to track the engagement everywhere, but you can do it.
And we've talked about this a little bit, but another question along these lines of metrics and impacts and so on is this question of, do you have personal goals for the engagement or particular metrics or impact that you look for when you're doing whatever you're doing? Or let me expand upon the question. Have any of you changed how you've been doing something because you wanted to see a different sort of impact?
Yes, absolutely. In 2015, I started on Twitch as a gamer, and although I would talk occasionally about geology, it wasn't exactly not allowed, but there weren't categories for it, and so kind of wasn't allowed. It's very strange. When they opened it up to a variety of categories, I was like, wait, I can do this? I can do this on Twitch now? So I switched it up to gaming and education, and then I went to full education with occasional gaming now and then. But it does definitely impact your metrics when you change. When you do two different things, it impacts your metrics. When you do one thing, if you pigeonhole yourself into a specific thing, there's so many different ways in which you can evaluate and analyze your metrics, and it's easy to become, honestly, quite unhealthily obsessive. So I try to have realistic goals that aren't too high, that I can also not obsess over the metrics and just look at them occasionally, if that makes sense. Because yes, it's easy to want to change. Oh, well, I think I should stream during this time because I got more views that one day. Well, you need to look at more variables than that one day. So it's easy to get overexcited and want to change all of the things, but I would highly recommend changing maybe one thing at a time, seeing how it goes, changing another thing at a time, and then do ultimately what's the best for you. If you're not having fun with it, I love it. It's the big pro for me is it's fun. I've developed and made some of my best friends. So if you're not having that and it's miserable for you, maybe reconsider. Honestly, that's the best advice. I'm not kidding. I don't know what else to say. It's just so much time.
From a TikTok perspective, I'll say again, I'm relatively new to it, but I spend more time on TikTok than I would have envisioned. And yeah, the moment I stop liking it, I'm not going to do it anymore. And I'll just end with this quickly because we're running out of time. And I'll just note, in case Olivia forgets. Any questions we didn't get to, we'll make sure we try to answer them in the follow-up email. But for TikTok, I personally am basically trying to drive engagement on other platforms. Like my TikTok videos are me and my dog showing the do's and don'ts of science communication. So they're informative, sure, but I'm also using them as almost like a marketing tool. So I think with any of these things, it's just about, and Alyssa have alluded to this, and even Olivia, like figure out what your goal is, what you want to get out of it, and that's going to be how you measure, like that's going to be how you determine what your metrics are. Do you actually want to have a bunch of people engage with what you're doing, or are you trying to drive content somewhere else, or is it some mix of both? So like with every sort of science communication or communication out there, what's your goal? Who's your audience? Why are you doing it? And then that will determine everything else. And I think that's our time.
Yeah. Well, thank you both, Alyssa and Melissa, so much for doing this. This was great. This was very informative for me, not just the volcanic ash.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we will follow up, like we said, with an email afterwards, with information, everything you could ever want and more. And so thank all of you out there who we cannot see for joining us, and we'll be in touch.